All right, great. So welcome everyone. A quick sort of recap of equipment that we need today. Preferably some kind of dining room chair if you have one. And then I've suggested a sofa cushion that would be on the back of your sofa, something like that, something bigger than a bed pillow or a normal sofa sort of decorative pillow. If you don't have one like that that comes off your sofa, then a bed pillow will be fine. Something a little firmer if possible. And then I've got a couple of just normal little cushions. I think I said 2 blankets. I've actually got 3 there. So if you do have one more that you could grab, or a towel, that might be helpful for one of the restorative postures we'll do. And I actually said 3 of those pillows, and what I've done is brought my meditation cushion along, which is a bit firmer, a bit harder. So if you have a sort of firmer cushion, or it might just be a third normal sofa cushion. So a bit of props today, and you can just improvise. If there's something that you don't have, or something similar that you could swap out, then do, and just get very creative with your restorative props. So the menu for today will start with a bit of an introduction of the theme of the class, and then move into a led meditation, which I'll record like I've been doing. You've got a sort of 10 or so minute practice you can revisit if you'd like to. And then we'll do a little bit of movement exploration, some standing today. So it should be fairly easeful standing, but if that feels too much for you, you could explore it sitting down on your chair, or you might just lie that part out. And then the second half of the class will be restorative. So very, very gentle and still and supported. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about effortlessness. Bit of a mouthful actually, but I'm just breaking the word effortlessness up. And surrender, and really life and our yoga practice is this delicate dance between effort and activity, and then surrender. And really what I mean by effort is right effort, meaning that we can use our practice and we can use our awareness through the activities we do in our lives to refine our awareness and notice when we're straining or overexerting, using more energy than we need to. And that might be mentally as well as physically as well. So Donna Farhi has a great analogy of effort. I think she talks about it in her book, Bringing Yoga to Life. And she talks about when you're learning something new, you need effort. So it's like trying to ride a bicycle up a hill. You need that effort to get up the hill. You need the effort to apply yourself when you're learning something new. But there's a certain point where that willpower of effort doesn't help anymore. And actually, it's like kind of trying to cycle when you're going down, trying to pedal when you're going downhill. It's not actually serving us anymore. The same here with practice, particularly meditation. I find very personally how the more there is an effort exerted, actually, the more you move away from that very peaceful, grounded, calm place. So how could we use our practice today to explore that? When we move and when we're still, could we do less? And could we explore how doing less makes us feel? In terms of surrender, now this could be referred to as disattachment. It really isn't, surrender really isn't an uninterest. It isn't a disengagement to what is going on. It's really quite the opposite. It's really sinking fully into a letting go state, a letting go attitude to our moment to moment experience. And this is probably one of the hardest aspects of life and of our practice. This letting go, this surrendering. And so that's really something that we'll explore throughout the class, but most particularly at the end when we come to our restorative. Great. check that I've covered everything here. Yeah, something else actually, it might be quite applicable to all of us here today, is pacing. Now, I'm no doubt you've been exploring this in your own lives, particularly if you've been unwell recently, if you're receiving treatment at the moment, is pacing at a rate where we can be very aware of our limitations, energy wise, physically wise. So an example, I was poorly last week, but not in bed poorly, just off kilter. I spent most of Friday in bed actually, but as I was regaining energy again, I noticed that I wasn't quite well enough to be doing much, but not sick enough to be doing nothing. So I used it really sort of curiously. I did a little bit of garden work, really gentle garden work, and then I came up and I did a 10-minute yoga nidra practice and just rested, fully rested. And then I'd potter and do a little bit more, and then I'd sit and read my book for half an hour. And just that pacing. I mean, it was the weekend. I had the fortune of being able to rest when I needed to, and I don't have children here to look after. But so I know that life does have those busyness and those responsibilities. But the beauty of listening inwards and how we might sort of use the mind to guide us through our day, and the mind has this jobs list to do, and we have to get through this jobs list before a certain time, else we don't feel satisfied or as if we've achieved anything. And pacing is quite the opposite to that, actually. It's just like, what can I physically do with the energy that I have today? So yeah, I just wanted to plant that seed for you, and how it can feel very conflicting with our mental sort of society, or our mental structure of just doing a little bit of something and then taking a rest. Great. If that means that you can do a little bit more tomorrow, fantastic. Okay, so enough rambling. Let's come to sit on the chair if you've got one there available. I'm going to just stay on the floor so that I can press record on my other device. But if you're willing and comfortable, come and sit in your chair and set yourself up in a way that feels comfortable. So just from what I was saying, if you're feeling really tired today, you might use the back of your chair. You might shimmy the backside right up to the back of the seat so that your sacrum is in contact with the back of the chair, and use that support today if you need it. And otherwise, you might shimmy forward slightly, have your heels underneath your knees, your hands on your lap, or on your thighs or in your lap. Good. So finding your comfortable meditation posture and making any other adjustments you need to, so that your spine is elongated, so that your chin is very slightly dipped. Your back of your neck is long. And feeling your whole physical form as you sit. You imagine your physical body like a sack of rice, so that the weight of your body sinks down into the pelvis, into the legs. So there's a sense of your muscles and connective tissue and flesh relaxing and softening around the bones. Can you feel the skeleton of your body receiving the gravity and taking the support for the rest of your body? Just notice as you begin your meditation practice if there are jobs or momentum in the mind. And might you just park it. Easier said than done sometimes, but might you just consciously say to yourself, I don't need to attend to that now, and just park it, and we can revisit it later if you still wish to. So becoming present in your posture, becoming physically present in your posture. Do so, could you take your own personal scan, maybe starting from the top of your head and feeling into the connective tissue around your skull and the contents of your head. And as you scan your way down through the length of your body, releasing, letting go of any unnecessary tension being held. So relaxing the eyebrows and the eyes. And you could use your exhale, maybe even an extended exhale. To help release any tension in the skull and the head, in the face. Running down through your throat, and you might use that exhale to release any tension in your throat. And as you move further down, feeling your shoulders, feeling your shoulder blades, where they sit on your back. And as you naturally breathe, you might notice some shifting of movement in the shoulder blades. Being aware of the exhale and how when you exhale the shoulder blades naturally sink a little subtly. And you could emphasize that with a sigh if that feels helpful. Feeling your arms hanging heavily from your shoulders. And even as your spine takes support of your physical shape, could you try to relax some of your back muscles? Becoming aware of that central axis of support of the spine, enabling the connective tissue to soften a little more fully. Now come to rest on the area in the lower rib cage, the area of your diaphragm. And perhaps taking a couple of conscious, perhaps maybe deeper breaths down into your diaphragm. Notice if there's any restriction here or residual tension. This is a common area that we hold ourselves, that we find it hard to surrender. So you might just allow the body to breathe naturally, maybe even out, in and out of the mouth. Allow the body's ability to adjust the breath how it needs to breathe. So that that whole central area of the torso relaxes and softens, the breath finds its easeful rhythm. But the breath could become effortless, perhaps. And for that to occur, there needs to be surrender. Surrendering control over what we don't have control of. And we could have control of the breath, but right here, allowing the body to breathe how it needs to breathe, relaxing the area in the mid torso, the area of the diaphragm, so that there is a natural and organic movement of the lower rib cage as you breathe. Effortless breath. Just notice as you use the minimalist amount of effort to remain present and aware, surrendering more fully into this object of attention, which is the natural breath here right now. Notice any tendency of the mind wanting to control the breath as you turn your attention towards it, or a wish for it to be different to how it is. How might it be to just leave it to appear and dissolve naturally? Let you sink into a deeper place of awareness, one that doesn't control, that becomes absorbed in the natural comings and goings. And if the body sinks a little here, that's okay. Allowing yourself to settle into a more relaxed place. Dropping your attention a little lower now as you feel into the abdominal wall. Noticing if there's any tension around the abdomen, around the base of the pelvis, the pelvic floor muscles. Maybe even some holding in the abdominal organs. So could the natural movement of your breath start to soak into the abdomen? Effortless effort to remain present with this object of attention as you continually soften into the abdominal bowl. Then how might it be to effortlessly broaden your awareness to feel your entire physical shape here? And as you do so, could there be a little more yield, a little less effort? Check that you're not straining from the mind and the head. Allowing your experience to be just as it is here, without any need for control or trying to change anything. And as we begin to draw this practice to a close, noticing any shifts or changes that might have occurred throughout this inquiry. Feel more effortful to be sitting here, or has there been a relinquishing of control or tension? And to close your practice today, you could just drop your chin gently towards your chest and maybe just blink your eyes open and closed a couple of times. As you just review your experience as to how you're feeling now. And if you'd like to, on your next inhale, floating your arms out to the side and up, just as high as feels comfortable for your arms and shoulders to go. Might be over your head, or they might be forward of the head. And then bringing the hands towards one another and drawing them down through the center line of your body and pausing just in front of your heart. As you take your attention behind the hands, softening into the area of the chest. And if that felt nice, taking that 2 or 3 more times while I just sort something out in the background. So inhaling the arms up over the head. Relaxing the areas of the heart. And the last time, when you're ready to complete the arm movement, bringing the hands back in front of the heart and closing your eyes here. And making an intention or inviting an intention into your awareness for your practice and maybe for the rest of your day that resonates personally with you. It might be along the lines of this releasing effort and finding an effortless place to abide, or it might be something different. And then letting that go, releasing the hands down. And from your sitting position, if there's any movements that you'd like to do here, maybe some little head and neck and shoulder movements. And rather than really directing exactly what to do here, I recommend and encourage you just to find a natural free style of movement from the shoulders, the upper back, the head and the neck. And as you find your own organic way to move these body parts, notice if there is a tendency to overexert, and how might you do that movement driven by the body rather than the mind in a more easeful way. So if you're moving the shoulders or the head or the neck, if you refine your awareness so much so that you become very sensitive to making or using more energy than necessary. And that might mean doing less, but you can feel that. And then once you've had a little exploration, then planting your feet underneath your knees if they're not already, and sitting slightly forwards of your chair here. And starting to tilt the spine forwards on a diagonal as you slide your hands forwards to the knees. So keeping the spine long, hopefully you can see this in my demonstration, that I'm moving the weight on my sit bones forward to the side and keeping the spine long, back of the neck long. And it might be that you just come a very small amount forward, or you might come quite far forward, depending on how this feels in your body today. And if this is still feeling fairly comfortable and effortless, you could arms a little away from the leg, or maybe they come up to shoulder height. But notice as you start to develop this movement, how more effort is needed. Noticing where that effort is needed and how might it be to remain within the confines of comfort, not strain. And I really encourage you to listen into your own experience. And if that means keeping the hands on the thighs to stay within your realm of comfort, then please do that. And making this your last one before finding your neutral spine upright again. And staying in this forward seated posture. For one more thing here, keep the hands on the thighs if you'd like. And the playful exploration here is to explore lifting one thigh up, one foot away from the floor, and then back down again. And it might be that you just start by lifting it an inch or two away from the floor and then back down again. And at first this might look like a really simple, easy exercise to do, but the key intention for this is to do it with as little effort as possible. And explore it for yourself. Something that I have noticed exploring this is how if I stabilize through the standing leg, just a little, not much effort at all, but just stabilizing, pressing down through that foot that's on the floor, that just helps create some activation through the core and feels to me less effort in the movement, but you can explore that for yourself. Something I notice if I just lift without much tension at all, then the effort comes into the thigh and the groin. I'm curious, is that happening to you in your movement? And how might it be to press down through the standing leg just a little, so that there is a shared effort, a dispersed effort? Taking one more on each side if you'd like to, just to finish up this inquiry. And then just come back to sitting. So there's an invitation to come to standing now, and just I'm going to move my chair off my mat. But of course, if you'd rather stay sitting, then there is always that invitation, and you can just be creative with making the same movement a seated practice. You're coming to stand and widen the stance on your floor or your mat. I'm going to keep my toes pointing forwards and give myself a really good base here. So it's really down to you how wide you take your legs. You don't want them too wide and feel very unstable here. I'm taking them wide enough to be able to soften one knee at a time. And you might just start by softening one knee at a time, very minutely. Just transferring your weight from the right leg to the left leg. This yield, this surrender, and this effort, this dance between the two. And what you could add to this perhaps is a little sway with the pelvis. So as you come to the right, the pelvis turns around to the right side. As you come to the left, the pelvis turns to the left. Or if that feels too complicated, you can think of the shoulders moving in the same direction to the legs. And what I find naturally happens is that my arms come into the movement too. And I'm just sort of demonstrating this in sections so that you can pick and choose. You might still be on section 1 only, and that's absolutely fine. If you are moving into the arms, I'm just going to adjust my stance slightly because it feels a bit too wide for me. And bringing a bit of a figure of 8 motion into the arm. And the key here is to keep that intention of minimal effort. So this natural rebound from the ground as the knees soften and rebound is creating that lovely momentum. And the arms might become a little bigger. I find that if I explain the arms too much, it becomes a bit too thinky. But what I am doing here is figures of 8 with the arms. One comes forwards as I lean over to the left leg, the other one goes back, and they come up, and do the same on the other side. So they could stay close to the ground, or they could come up a little higher. So really make it your own. Really just move the whole body. You could even bring the head and the neck into the movement as well. Just enjoy that freedom of movement with minimal effort. And if the legs start to tire, you might just use the arms for a little while. And when the body starts to feel that it's had enough, you could release the arms and just keep the legs pumping. And then slowly in your own time, bringing the movement to a close, bringing the feet onto more of a mountain stance, whereby the heels are underneath the hip joints, and finding a stable posture here. If stable for you here is a little wider, then take a wider stance. I'm going to invite you into some spinal rolls here. Again, you can do this sitting on a chair if you'd like to. In spinal rolls, we start by dropping the chin towards the chest and starting to round the spine. And there'll be a point where the knees need to bend as you slowly articulate through your spine. The pelvis will at some point want to tilt forward, rock forward to allow the weight to pour forward. To come up, bend your knees deeply, press down through your feet and raise the pelvis up, raise the spine up and start to unfurl in the opposite direction. And if that felt okay, then take it again, dropping the chin towards the chest, letting the weight of the head lengthen the back of the neck, rolling slowly, bent knees the whole time. Remembering when you do come up, and you might just like to hang out in the forward bend for a little while before coming up. When you do come up, bend the knees deeply, press down through the soles of your feet. That's really key to engage your core. If this isn't working for your lower back, then an alternative could be to keep the hands on the thighs. And as you bend your knees, it's like you're sitting back onto a chair that's being sort of pulled away from you. It's like a chair pose, keeping the hands on the thighs. And you might come to there and then come to round the spine. Or if that feels enough on the lower back, then you could just press through the feet to come straight up from there. Finding which variation suits your body today. And maybe just take one more in your own time. Remembering to bend your knees and allow your pelvis to rock forward. Good, to enable your tail to start pointing behind you and up eventually. Nice. Using that pressure through the feet to engage the legs, to help engage the core as you roll yourself back up. And as you restack your spine, relax your shoulders, lengthen your neck. You find an effortless stance here, whereby your skeleton, the bones of your skeleton are taking the weight of your body. And you can stand with minimal effort. So as we're standing, I'm going to invite you to do one more thing before we come down onto the floor. So taking a wide stance again. And I'm going to turn my right toes forwards to the front of my mat, or I guess in this orientation, the side of my mat. So I'm not going to mirror you. I've got my right toes pointing towards the right side of my mat. And I'm going to turn my left toes in slightly, just a little, just to allow the pelvis to feel a little bit more natural as my right toes turned out. Now this movement, this posture can be done just into the posture, into the side angle posture, or we can move in and out of it to find ease rather than tension. So one option could be to have the hand on the right knee as the right knee bends, and we come into a bit of a diagonal with the torso and the back leg. So what I'm really taking care of here is that my right knee is going over the middle of my right foot. So another orientation for that right arm could be the right elbow comes down onto the side. That might feel too far for you today, and if that's the case, then keep using the hand on the thigh, bending the elbow if you need to. And another addition could be to take the hand up onto the lower back, if you come to the side bend, press down through your feet to return, or you could lift the left arm up and over your head, if you'd like. So I've just shown quite a few different variations, so I'll just revisit, but you can continue what you're doing. Hand on the thigh, left arm down, elbow onto the thigh, left arm to the lower back, or it could be elbow to the thigh, left arm overhead. And at some point, if you'd like to, you might just like to stay there. Just like to stay in that side bend. Arm raised or arm lowered. And noticing if you could maybe apply a little less effort, a little more ease in this posture. At some point the body will tire. And when that's the case, bring yourself up before the body gets too tired and starts to try and hold itself with tension rather than comfort. Let's swivel around to the left side. The left toes pointing to the left side of your mat or the left direction, and your right toes turned in slightly. As you bend your left knee, this side might be different to your other side, or it's likely to be different. So you might just start with the hand on the thigh, just out. You might keep going with the hand on the thigh, or you might come a little lower with the elbow, checking that that left knee is safely orienteering over the middle of your foot. So towards your sort of second or third toe on your foot. And the right hand can slide to the lower back just to help open the chest, open the rib cage. And maybe the arm raises up all the way over the head. Maybe not. So stay in tune with how this feels in your body. If there's any signals that this is too much, or if you're just curious as to how it would feel to do less today, you might like to just come and be still in the posture for a few breaths, finding a place of minimal effort. As much effort is needed, but as little as possible. And you be the judge. When it's time to come out, your body, so you make the rules. We're going to heel toe the feet back in. And coming back to your mountain posture, coming back to your Tadasana. Your arms hang really loosely by your side. And as you stand, you could just softly gaze forwards or close your eyes even. Just scanning for yourself. Is there anywhere in your posture here, in your body here, that is holding tension? And often our mind gets directed to that pain or that tension. And in this standing posture, is there anything you might be able to do to lessen that tension or lessen that sensation? It could be softening the knees ever so slightly. It could be tilting the weight a little further back or a little more central. And just having a little shake out, shaking the legs out, maybe one by one, or you could just stand with both feet on the floor. Any kind of movement that just releases and softens the flesh. It's a great exercise to do if you've been still for a long time and you just need to, shake out that tension. And we're going to set up for our first restorative posture now. So it takes a little bit of propping. And I'll talk you through different options. So I'm going to take my firm pillow, my meditation pillow, but this might be one of the back of your chair pillows, something that's just going to create a stable base for our top layer. See, that's a bit of the shade there, if you can see that okay. That's on the head end of the pillow, the head end of my mat. Then I'm going to take my biggest, the sofa cushion, or this might be your bed pillow on top. And as you can see, what I'm creating is a diagonal, is an incline. And if it feels a bit floppy and you've got a spare blanket, then you might just pad that up a little bit. I might pad it up a bit higher. But what we're trying to avoid is too much collapse. So if you've got a really long sofa cushion and you've got your prop right at the back and you lie down and it's going to sink right in the middle. So if we can bring it up and support the majority, particularly of the upper spine and the head, the heaviest part, then that will be great. Have a blanket on top here for your head, or a towel, something for your head to have support. Don't have mine that high, I think. We can adjust it once we come into the posture. And then hopefully you'll have a couple of pillows there. I'm going to put one either side of the mat and have a blanket available also. And then sitting your bottom right up to the base of your pillow, your incline. Bringing your feet together. And what we want to do here is prop the outer thighs enough so that they're not having to hold themselves. So I'm going to bring mine in, and what I'll do is just take the middle of the cushion and create a fold so that my thighs can just rest on top. So they're folding in half. And hopefully they'll just stay there and support the thighs. It doesn't matter how far away or how close your feet are in relation to your pelvis here. Just find a comfortable position. And then for this extra blanket, you can use it how you'd like to. You might put it on top of you as a layer. What I'm actually going to do is just fold it into a long rectangle, in half and then in half again, perhaps. Really neat. And then I'm going to take it over my feet in the middle of the blanket and tuck it right underneath my ankles. That just adds a little bit of extra support for the legs, and it also just creates a bit of feedback for the feet and the legs of containment. And once you've got your legs sorted, I just lean back slightly on the hands and tuck the tail enough to lengthen the lower back. And then gently rest your way back onto your reclined cushion and sort your neck out here. So I'm just going to get one end of my blanket and just tuck it into the nook of my neck. And I love to do just not too high, just enough to feel that support in the nook of the neck. And then you might feel that you need a bit of extra height behind the top of the head. So we really don't want to lose the space in the throat. So if the chin is coming too far to the chest, it'll feel too restricted for the breath. So we want the throat to stay open, but we don't want the chin to be lifting up towards the ceiling either. So make sure that your head support is supporting your head in a way that's nice and neutral and balanced. Making a bit of a hash up of mine here. Okay, a bit better. And letting your arms just rest down by your side, and you can play around with the placement of your arms here. I've actually replaced my bolster to this sofa cushion for this posture because it's wider, and I just love that support on the back of the shoulders, the backs of the arms. So we traditionally do this with a bolster. If the arms feel a bit too open here, or there's not enough support, then you could place them on the body. You might use some extra props to put underneath the elbows, or you might not need that here. But if it is comfortable, resting the arms out to the side, and really this is quite a vulnerable posture. You're very open, your organs are open and exposed, opening through the pelvis and the groin, which doesn't tend to happen in day-to-day life. So just be with that feeling of vulnerability, and if it feels too much, obviously do change the posture. But how might it be to use this as an opportunity to soften into the areas that notoriously become held or restricted? So you might like to sigh your way into this breath. Transition from moving and more effort to less effort, less doing. So just be curious as to your body's response to coming into this posture today. Does it instantly meet that support and surrender willingly? Or do you notice some resistance to surrendering into this stillness? Is there some restlessness? Is there something not feeling quite right about the posture? And if that's the case, please do spend the time to add or take something away. There's an invitation to remain in this posture for about 10 minutes. Of course, this timing is always down to you. So this is one of the best postures for support and for sinking into surrender. So how might it be to feel into the weight of your head here as it sinks a little more fully into the support of the blanket? And perhaps closing your eyes if that feels safe to do so. And as you do so, softening around the eyes and intentionally turning your attention inwards. So you're consciously turning away from the visual world. Softening your jaw And if it's easier to breathe freely with the mouth open, then feel free to explore that. Slowly gliding your attention down through your throat and your neck and into the upper chest. Sinking the back ribs towards that support beneath your spine. You allow the area around the heart to soften and rest. You invite a quality of stillness into your experience here. To continue to glide your attention down through the length of your torso and coming to the area of your diaphragm and your solar plexus in the lower part of your ribcage. And perhaps it feels a little easier to completely relax into this area of your body. Breath having the permission to move freely and in its own rhythm. If it feels a little challenging to keep your attention here on the area of the middle torso, the diaphragm region, then be gentle with your approach. Notice what the challenge is of remaining here. Feel a little shaky or unstable to be here. And if at any time it becomes too overwhelming to rest your attention in a certain area of your being, then return back to the physical presence of your whole body at any time you need that grounding. But otherwise, using the attitude of patience to rest, to be present in this area of your body as the body breathes unimpinged. And you could continue gently resting your attention here, or you could sink a little more deeply into your torso as you inhabit your abdomen. And if you're dropping your attention a little lower, relax into the pelvic floor. Relax your entire lower torso, so that the belly and the contents of the belly is relaxed. How might it be to do less here? Do less. Effort less rest. Less effort, leading to a restful state. Can the breath move freely here, unimpeded? So that the life force that is talked about and acknowledged in all these beautiful ancient wisdoms, whether that's Tiao Mari, or whether that's Chinese medicine or yogic practices, this life force comes with many names. In Tereo, it's Mari. Chinese, it's Qi. India, it's Prana. They all point to the same thing, which is this life force that is giving us the vitality we need. However, that life force can't move through tension. The same as our blood circulation can't move easily through a very tense muscle. So this action, this attitude of surrender is key for the circulation of fluids in the body, of energy and life force. So might you sink a little more fully into the arms of the support, so that your entire physical form sinks into effortless rest. Do less. Over time, with practice, with awareness, we come to recognize that movement of energy and life force that brings vitality within the body. So the more you relax and let go of any need for control, might very subtly notice vibration or pulsing, that natural flow within your body. And we don't need to do anything with this. Let it do its thing. It's got its own wisdom. The important part we play is to get out of the way of that process. Just rest in the background, relinquishing control. This is one of my favorite postures to remain in for long periods of time, sometimes up to an hour. So you may find that you have found a comfortable place to rest, and that's somewhere you'd like to stay, maybe for the remainder of the class. So please listen to that wish if it's there. So in a moment, there's an invitation to change postures, and it will be another restorative posture, another supportive posture, whereby we turn ourselves around so that it's actually the legs that are on the incline and the spine that's on the floor. So as you listen to that invitation, just be with the feeling that arises within you. Is there a curiosity of Oh, I quite like to explore that new posture. Or is there a, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to stay here. So listen to that and stay if you'd like to stay. And if you're ready to transition, then do so very slowly. Start to use your arms, your elbows to perhaps bring you up, or you might like to lie on your side for a moment. Whichever way out feels the least effort. And it'd be nice to have a support for the ankles here. So I'm just going to unravel my head blanket and just open it up. It's nice and long. And you'll want a cushion or a blanket for your head at the other end of your mat. You might like a blanket on top of you, or sometimes I find having my pelvis just on the floor can feel a little too hard. So you might place a blanket there underneath where your pelvis is going to rest. And then placing your legs up on your incline, bottom on the floor. And I'm going to take the blanket and just cross over the legs with the blanket. It doesn't really matter how you do that, but what I'm trying to do here and guide you to do is to really secure your legs down so they're not just flopping open. They've got that stability. You can do that in any way, but just tucking the blanket around the backs of the legs. It really depends on the length of your cushion as to where your legs will be. But if the cushion's a bit shorter, you might just have it underneath the backs of the knees. So the backs of the knees are supported. And then bring yourself down onto your back. Bring something into the nook of your neck. Make any little adjustments you need so that you're comfortable. You might place your hands on your body. You might have the hands out to the side. A very light inversion with the feet and the legs higher than the pelvis and the heart. If you get this lovely melting like sensation through your legs as they recognize this invitation to rest, to restore. And even bringing the legs into a very slight inversion like this can have a lovely sedating effect on the nervous system. Feel that lovely wave of melting down through the legs, traveling its way to the pelvis and the belly. Maintain this intention of doing less, moment to moment. So that the real true unraveling and settling can occur. And I'm going to invite you to remain in this slight inverted state, if you have moved to it, for about 4 more minutes or so. If at any time it feels too much, if there's pressure in the head or if the toes go numb, then you might prefer just to come and rest into a Shavasana. Or if you're still in that supported bound angle posture, then yeah, enjoy. Stay where you are. Perhaps touching that surrender a little more fully. Noticing that it isn't a disinterest. It's a becoming completely absorbed, but relinquishing any, even a glimmer of control. As you continue to rest, as you continue to do less, I'd like to share with you a poem written by Wendell Berry, and it's called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. That grace of the wild things and of the nature that we are surrounded by is a fantastic teacher to us all. These autumn leaves that are changing beautifully into these gorgeous reds, oranges. They're just doing what they need to do without the control or the striving, and eventually ready to let go and fall to the ground and become something else entirely. Noticing your body's natural breath here in whatever shape that you're in. So the mouth is open or closed, the freest that your body can be to breathe. Your legs are raised on your cushion, then you might like to very gently start to transition to a flat, neutral posture, the Shavasana of some kind, or it could be just lying on your side. Wherever you are, review how you're feeling. Whether throughout your practice this morning there have been any insights into effortless, less effort, less strain, and if so, what that then led you to? Did it lead you to surrender? Did you find it hard to surrender today? These are all lessons, interesting information that we are discovering about ourselves and our experience, which is changing all the time. So I invite you to begin your transition out of your lying posture. Of course, stay longer if you'd like to and just turn this off. If you're ready to continue back out into your day, then taking your slow, effortless transition. Might be resting on your side briefly. It might be making your way up to sitting eventually. And even those transitions, kind of like our transitions from our daily chores or activities, these can all be opportunities for attention and inquiry. So how might you make the simplest of movements effortless? And does that bring a little more kindness to your day or gentleness? So you might still be lying down, you might have made your way up to sitting. It doesn't matter, but just eventually sit and ground yourself before moving back out into your day. You may like to check back in with your natural breath. And really, this is a fantastic indicator. So if you're wanting, you're curious to take this out with you into your day, you could use your breath as your indicator as to whether you are straining or overexerting or over anxious, stressed. Can the breath move freely and unimpinged? Not necessarily slowly or deeply. That's not the key here. It's can it move effortlessly? Can it move freely? And if you'd like to bring the palms of the hands together in front of the heart as you connect into that space behind the hands, in the upper chest. And let's together make an intention for the rest of our day. May I move effortlessly and easily throughout my day. You might extend that all the way out through your week, perhaps. If that resonates with you, may I move effortlessly and easily throughout my week with patience and presence. Plant that seed of intention. Namaste.